USAVs, Japan. Who has the better defense? Japan is one of the most powerful countries in the world, and they have a huge military budget. They also have a well-trained military and advanced technology. But how does it compare to the US? In this video, we will compare the two countries' navies and air forces to find out which one is better. So stay tuned for an exciting showdown. The United States has a long history of military interventionism, whether it be through direct invasions or supporting proxy forces. The US has been involved in conflicts around the world, sometimes multiple at once. This has led to the US having a massive military budget. The US spends more on its military than the next 10 nations combined. It's clear that the US government places a high priority on the military, spending nearly $750 billion annually. The Chinese government sees this as a threat and considers the US military as their biggest rival. As a result, China has been rapidly modernizing its own military in order to one day rival the US. This has led to an arms race between the two countries, with each side constantly trying to outdo the other. Only time will tell how this rivalry will play out in the future. But for now, it is clear that the US military is the most powerful in the world. The United States military consists of several branches, including the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Space Force. Each branch has its own distinct role and mission. However, all of them work together to protect the interests of the United States. The US military is highly trained and disciplined, with soldiers who are among the best in the world. Adityonaji, the US military has access to some of the most advanced technology, including stealth fighters, aircraft carriers, and nuclear weapons. These factors make the US military a formidable force that should not be underestimated. On the other hand, Japan's military is much smaller than the US, with a total budget of around $46 billion. Despite this, Japan's military is still quite powerful. For example, Japan has a well-trained and disciplined military that is equipped with some of the most advanced technology. Adityonaji, Japan's strategic location, gives it a significant advantage in terms of defense. Japan is an island nation located in East Asia. This means that it is surrounded by water on all sides, which makes it difficult for an invading force to reach its mainland. Additionally, Japan's mountainous terrain also provides natural barriers that can be used to defend against an attack. Finally, Japan's alliances with other countries, such as the United States, provide it with additional support in case of an emergency. Overall, despite being smaller than the US military, Japan's defense forces are still quite formidable. As we said earlier, the US military has a total budget of about $700 billion. This huge sum of money allows the country to maintain a strong military presence around the world and to develop new and innovative technologies. In fact, the US spends more on its military than the next 10 countries combined. Now, let's take a look at Japan's defense budget. Japan's defense budget is much smaller than the US, at just over $46 billion. This is still a significant amount of money, but it pales in comparison to the US budget. One of the reasons for this is that Japan is a pacifist country. This means that they generally do not want to use military force to solve problems. As a result, they have no interest in having a large or expensive military. Additionally, Japan benefits from strong alliances with other countries, particularly the United States. This means that Japan can rely on the US military to protect them in the event of an attack, which reduces the need for Japan to spend on its own defense. In terms of active personnel, the US has a larger military than Japan. The US has a total of 1.4 million active personnel, while Japan has only 250,000 active personnel. This is likely due to a number of factors, including the size of the two countries, their respective populations, and their strategic interests. The US is a large country with vast amounts of land to protect as well as a strong global presence. This requires a large military to effectively defend its interests. Japan, on the other hand, is a much smaller country with fewer strategic interests abroad. As a result, they are able to maintain a smaller military. Additionally, Japan has a much lower population than the US. This means that there are simply fewer eligible soldiers to draw from. Despite the size difference, both militaries are highly trained and capable. When it comes to comparing the US and Japanese militaries, one of the most important factors to consider is their respective naval capabilities. Both countries have strong navies that play an important role in their overall military strategy. The US Navy is widely regarded as the most powerful navy in the world. It has a large fleet of modern ships and submarines, as well as a strong air wing. The U.S. Navy is also highly experienced, with sailors who have seen extensive combat in recent years. In contrast, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force is a relatively small navy. It has a smaller fleet of ships and submarines, and a less experienced crew. However, the JSDF is well-trained and disciplined, and its ships are modern and well-maintained. Despite its smaller size, the JSDF is still considered to be one of the most capable navies in Asia. When comparing the two navies, it's important to consider their respective missions. The U.S. Navy has a global mission and is often called upon to respond to crises around the world. The JSDF, on the other hand, has a more limited mission focused primarily on defending Japanese waters. Another key difference between the two navies is their approach to warfare. The U.S. Navy is known for its powerful offensive capabilities. It has a strong air wing and is capable of projecting power far beyond Japan's borders. The JSDF, on the other hand, is more focused on defense. Its ships are designed to defend against attack, and it has a smaller, less aggressive air wing. Overall, the U.S. Navy is clearly more powerful than the JSDF. It has a larger, more modern fleet and a more aggressive approach to warfare. However, the JSDF is still a capable navy that plays an important role in defending Japan. The U.S. and Japanese air forces are two of the most technologically advanced in the world. Both countries have a long history of investing in cutting-edge aircraft and weapon systems. In recent years, both air forces have focused on developing unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs are increasingly being used for a variety of military missions, including surveillance, reconnaissance, and combat. The U.S. Air Force has been particularly active in developing and deploying UAV. For example, the MQ-9 Reaper is a highly effective combat UAV that has been used extensively in the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Japan's Air Force, on the other hand, has been slower to embrace UAVs. This is partly due to Japan's pacifist constitution, which limits the country's ability to use force outside of self. However, in recent years, Japan has begun to invest more in UAV technology. For example, the FX fighter jet program aims to develop a stealth fighter with built-in UAV, launching and control capabilities. This suggests that the Japanese Air Force is becoming more open to the use of UAVs in combat. Another area where the two air forces differ is in their approach to air defense. The U.S. relies heavily on a network of ground-based missile defense systems to protect against incoming aircraft and missiles. Japan, on the other hand, has a more decentralized approach. Japan's air defense system consists of a combination of ground-based and ship-based missile defense systems, as well as a large number of fighter jets. This decentralized approach allows Japan to respond more quickly to air threats, as it does not rely on a single ground-based system. In terms of aircraft, the U.S. Air Force has a larger and more diverse fleet. It operates a wide variety of aircraft, including fighter jets, bombers, transport planes, and UAVs. Japan's Air Force, on the other hand, has a smaller fleet that is focused primarily on fighter jets and transport planes. The U.S. Air Force also has more experience flying combat missions. In recent years, U.S. aircraft have been heavily involved in the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Japan's Air Force, on the other hand, has not seen combat since World War II. Overall, the U.S. Air Force is clearly more powerful than Japan's Air Force. It has a larger, more advanced fleet and more combat experience. However, Japan's Air Force is still a capable fighting force that is well-trained and prepared to defend Japan's airspace. We looked into the U.S. and Japan's defense budgets, active personnel, Navy, and Air Force. We saw that the U.S. has a much larger and more powerful military than Japan. This is not surprising given the size of the two countries and their respective populations. However, we also saw that Japan's military is still a formidable fighting force that should not be underestimated. What do you think? Which country has the better defense? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more informative content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.